world title in everyone's imagination. That's the heavyweight champ. You were here. Everyone else was here. But since then, the feeling has been Joshua makes all this money fighting anyway, 30 million pounds, whatever it is. Why should he take 40 or 50 to fight Wilder when he's making against anybody? He can make 30, 40 million pounds, whatever it is.
No fantasy contracts, just reality. You know, bringing our worth to the table and bargaining and negotiating what we're worth and making this fight happen.
Which mentality do you come in with? I ask because when you were slick, to me that looked like a better fighter. But maybe this is the kind of fight where you just need to impose your strength.
Anthony Joshua looked calm and sure when he talked to Max Kellerman. This talk was before his big fight with Jake Paul. Many fans are very excited about this fight. Joshua did not just talk about how he will fight. He talked about the pressure he feels. He also talked about what this fight means for his boxing history. Kellerman asked hard questions. Joshua answered the people who criticize him. He explained why he chose to fight Jake Paul. Jake Paul is a boxer who many people love or hate.
World or a heavyweight champion, of the world, you're an undefeated Olympic super heavyweight gold medalist, you're entering your physical prime, and you put 100,000 people in Wembley. So I get your argument. I have the economic clout. He's not coming in as partners. I should get a bigger slice of the pie. Let's have a realistic negotiation.
Kellerman is a smart interviewer. He quickly asked about the fight. He said this fight is very strange for heavyweights. Joshua was a world champion. Jake Paul is only an internet star. Kellerman asked, why are they fighting? Many fans asked the same thing. Joshua's answer was important. It showed how he felt about the whole talk.
You beat a guy like that, you're not going to outbox him. If you're waiting on him and he's initiating and he's feinting you into counters and then he's countering.
Kellerman asked Joshua what he likes most about Jake Paul. Joshua said Paul is bringing new people to boxing. Joshua knows Paul did not start the normal way, but Paul is jumping into hard fights and putting himself under pressure. Joshua feels Paul's best trait is his excitement to challenge himself. Joshua thinks this helps boxing get more attention from more fans.
Fighting Jake Paul, does he remind you of any guy that you fought before? Is this a unique situation that you've never come across?
Very unique situation I've never come across, but treating with the same respect that I give all my competition.
So you got the mental fortitude, he's got the mental fortitude. But what's the one best thing that you pride Jake Paul of having that maybe you haven't seen in other competition you faced so far?
From a physical aspect, I couldn't even mention it at the minute. But from a mental aspect, he offered me to fight. Normally, I'm offering people fights. He's told me, come and fight. So he believes in himself.
What does the word legacy mean to you, AJ?
Legacy, what does it mean? This is what I was actually asking someone. What does legacy mean? I don't even know.
The size difference between the two men is a main topic. Many people are shocked by it. Jake Paul is strong in his weight class. But next to Anthony Joshua, Paul looks very small. It looks like the story of David versus Goliath. Joshua is not just taller than Paul. His body shows he trained as a heavyweight for many years. When they stand together, the difference is shocking. Paul added muscle, but he is not the natural size of a real heavyweight.
Jake Paul versus AJ, as though Jake Paul is the bigger in this equation. Not for me. Maybe for MVP, Nikisa, Jake Paul, but not for me. I've kind of marked it or titled it David versus Goliath just because of the size difference. Like, Jake Paul's a big guy. He is. He's 6'1", 220. Probably fights around, the 200-pound mark. AJ is an enormous guy. Like, he's a big unit. And I think Jake realized that when they came face to face. I don't know if that's the first time they've ever come that close. I'm sure they've met behind the scenes. But I think there was a realization from Jake Paul, like, fuck, this is a big dude. It's a very big dude who isn't coming to play. Like, there was no play with AJ. That was a press conference that almost sounded like AJ versus someone in the top 10, where AJ's taking it seriously. He's answering the questions direct that Ariel's throwing him. There was no, yeah, we're here to kind of fuck around. This is going to be easy. Give me my money. Let me run back to the UK. This was AJ's like, no, we're taking this seriously. And that ain't a good thing for Jake Paul. It isn't. And AJ's that guy anyway. Like, I would never doubt that AJ would take this seriously. But for Jake Paul, I do wonder if realization is kicking in, or maybe he is just that delusional where he doesn't care. I do, and I've been sort of corrected by a few people who maybe know better, but I do think the Americans don't credit or rate AJ. I do think there's a bit of that. I remember when AJ did the rounds prior to the Ruiz fight, and there were a few people like, yeah, you're not that good. This was prior.
Nikisa Badarian is the boss of Jake Paul's fight team. He told Sky Sports the December 19th fight with Joshua is a huge worldwide event. Badarian knows Joshua has much more experience, but he said Paul's crazy confidence might make the fight surprising. Paul is very sure he can win. The boss also said the fight was moved up fast. They first planned the fight for 2026, but Paul wanted it now. So they quickly finished the deal to have the fight
Will there
sooner.
be a limit for Joshua?
So there's a lot of discussion around the weight. Joshua fought Usyk twice. Both of those times, Usyk was 221 pounds. Joshua was 240 to 245. When Jake fought Mike Tyson last year, 227 pounds. I expect Jake will come in anywhere between 225 and 230, and Anthony Joshua has a weight limit of 245 pounds.
There will be those, as you're aware, that will look at it and criticise this fight. There already have been, haven't there? They'll say it's a real mismatch. What would you say to them? Are we going to be watching sport at its purest?
I would say it's much less of a mismatch than what you saw with AJ and Francis Ngannou, who a massive man, but relatively no boxing experience. I would say it's much less of a mismatch than AJ's 9th or 10th fight against guys who've been knocked out 20 to 25 times. Given AJ's pedigree, Jake is built for this. Jake is built for the big moments. So do I think it's dangerous for Jake Paul? Absolutely. Do I think it's also dangerous for Anthony Joshua?
Tony Jeff, an Olympic boxer, said Jake Paul should be taken seriously. He said Paul has everything a boxer needs. Paul has money to hire the best trainers. He has the best coaches for fitness and mind health. He also gets the best people to practice fighting with him. Paul can pay for a perfect training camp. Jeff also said Paul knows this is his hardest fight ever, so he will train extra hard. Also, Paul is younger than Joshua. Jeff said, being young is a big advantage in boxing. Young boxers heal faster, train harder, and have more energy.
The tail of the tape. Now looking at the age difference, we've got 28 years old compared to 36 years old. So I guess the advantage there goes a little bit towards Jake Paul. 28-year-old is better than a 36-year-old. But that being said, we've got talking about experience and everything else, what comes with being 36 years old at Anthony Joshua's level. And then like I mentioned, the heavyweights kind of seem to prime a little bit older. They'll come down to the height and the weight. This is the big one. 6'1" versus 6'6". 200 pound versus 252 pound. We got a 252-pounder in Anthony Joshua. The reach advantage is a lot, which we would expect. Amateur fights, we can see that Jake's only had one, where AJ's had 43, but 43 of them are including at the highest level, Olympic level. And yes, he won the Olympic bloody gold medal, if I don't need to remind you. Then the pro record, Jake Paul has had 13 fights, lost 1. AJ has had 28 fights and he's lost 4 with 25 KOs. And the one person that Jake Paul lost to was Tommy Fury. Now, can we compare Tommy Fury with Anthony Joshua? Not at all. It's like night and day. So now I'm going to talk about the rules of this fight, and I'll give you my prediction, which is going to shock a lot of people after this. So, what are the rules? The bout will take place at a heavyweight, obviously. It's going to be 8 3-minute rounds. You might think, well, that's better for Jake Paul, and I'm thinking, not really. It's better for Anthony Joshua because he's just going to go all out for them 8 3-minute rounds. And imagine that, Anthony Joshua blasting at you, 6'6", whatever he is, 250 pounds, throwing big bombs at you. Anyway, both fighters will be using 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. Why have they got that? It says both fighters will be wearing 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. What do you expect? Them to take them off halfway through and switch them to 12s? But I guess these days, anything happens in boxing, right? The boys will follow similar rules to Jake Paul and Mike Tyson in November, but that fight was 8 2-minute rounds and 14-ounce gloves. Not similar if it's smaller gloves and 2-minute rounds. Who wrote this for DAZN? It marks the first time Joshua will have contested less than 10 rounds since...
Derek Chisora, a longtime heavyweight boxer, is angry. He said giving Jake Paul a WBC ranking is bad for boxing. Chisora said real boxers work hard to earn their rank. But Paul fights easy people. Paul would get a high rank only because he is famous, not because he is good. Chisora thinks the WBC boss is trading respect for money. He called it a disgrace. Rankings must be earned in the ring, but some smart people support Jake. They say Joshua cannot take punches anymore. They say his chin is broken from past losses. However, other smart people disagree. They said losing to another heavyweight does not mean Paul will win. Joshua still has great skills, big power, and lots of experience. They said people are saying Joshua is worse than he is. If Joshua stays focused and follows his plan, he can still win easily.
BBC have said they're going to give a cruiserweight ranking to the winner of this fight. Do you think they deserve one?
I don't think so. I don't know why. It's hard enough for real athletes, for real boxers, to gain those rankings, and then suddenly this Solomon Tuesday decides to give double ranking because he's getting some greens in his, in his back pocket. No, that is disgrace.
Anthony Yarde was more aggressive. He told Joshua not to think Jake Paul is easy to beat. Yarde said Joshua must hit Paul hard and take the fight seriously. Yarde thinks Jake Paul is very good at making people excited about the fight. Paul knows how to make the fight huge. This can sometimes make the other boxer feel too relaxed. Yarde warned that if Joshua feels too comfortable, Jake Paul might surprise him and win.
AJ's laughing. Against Jake Paul, come on. If it's not, there's all these people say, oh, it's all fixed and all this things like that. If that's not true, AJ should go up there and punch him up, But if some funny stuff happens and Jake Paul starts doing the rope-a-dope, there's something must be going on. But yeah, I don't think this fight's crazy. But Jake Paul's a master at getting eyes, He's been like that. He's very smart. No one cares if he loses, he's meant to lose, and they both make so much.
Darren Till, a former UFC fighter, supports Jake Paul. He talked about the fight possibly happening soon. He said it was wrong that Saudi promoter Turki Alalshik was involved. Till used strong, angry words about the promoter. Till added that Jake Paul has nothing to lose in this fight. He said Joshua is not very strong mentally when he is under pressure. Till believes Paul is mentally tough. He said this tough mindset gives Paul an edge if the fight happens.
Past Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua, as much as he's a monster, he's got a weak mind, hasn't he? So Jake could end up getting into it because Jake's got everyone eating out the palm of his hand. He's a very clever man. So
you really think he's got a chance?
Why wouldn't he have a chance? Look how confident he is. Mate, come on. Like, Anthony would have all the pressure in the world, and if Anthony didn't do him with the first few punches, he'd start doubting himself in his head, because that's what he does. But no, Anthony should win, shouldn't he?
What do you make of Tyson Fury saying that he's going to put $1 million bet on Jake winning by knockout?
Tyson to leg it, lad. He's retired about 50 times. What's he on about, mate? Just tell him to leg it, and I love him. If he walked in here, I'd obviously...
At one point you were good friends.
I'm still good friends, but obviously if he walked in here, I'd act like I'm not talking about him, but then on the camera I'm talking to him. Is this not what we're on?
Fair enough.
Is everyone not fake, or no? We all... What are we on here? Are we all acting like we don't hate each other? Like, come on. Like what?
You're on absolute smoke today.
Shut your mouth, Tyson.
Duke McKenzie, a famous former boxer, does not like the idea of Joshua fighting Jake Paul. McKenzie won titles in 3 different weights. He criticized the trend of internet and MMA fighters entering boxing. He called this idea wrong. McKenzie talked about Joshua's fight with Francis Ngannou, a former UFC champ. He warned that fight could have ended very badly. He said the MMA fighter should never have fought Joshua. McKenzie strongly believes boxers and MMA pros should stay in their own sports. This is important to keep the fighters safe and keep the sport true.
Hearn has confirmed that they are actually in talks to have this fight before a possible fight against Fury.
Well, Eddie Hearn's a promoter, first and foremost, and he's in the business of making money. I'm not so sure he's even thinking about anybody's, getting hurt or anything like that. That hasn't even entered his head. But it should, because somebody could easily lose their life.
That's quite a concern, isn't it? I mean, that should be the forefront of everybody's mind.
I think so. I think there's the fight business, and then there's the fight game, and the way they're talking about it, they're talking about it like it's a game. I don't think Anthony Joshua would take Jake Paul lightly, any way, shape or form, and he'd be so easy to hit. You're talking about a trained athlete against.
Chael Sonnen joked that Jake Paul would try to challenge AJ even on the fight day. But Sonnen said that is not how the business works. Sonnen explained that Jake pays for almost everything, like press events and ads. This is because Jake is the fighter and the promoter. This means Jake has all the money worries. He cannot just change the plan fast. Sonnen said Jake made this whole plan himself. That means he has a big job. When you run the show, your money, time, and fame are all at risk. Many experts still think Jake will cancel the fight. They say he will not fight Joshua, but Chael Sonnen thinks differently. Sonnen believes Jake Paul planned this fight from the start.
They're telling you what they would do. Do you think this guy would fight this guy? No way. He'd get his ass kicked. So they're telling what they're telling you about themselves. They're letting you know that they would not take a fight that they didn't know that they were going to win. When the person says, mark my words, Jake Paul will pull out of this fight. He might even do it the day of. Pull out of the fight to who? It's his fight. Who is this mystery person? Did you write? Because I know this is a big category. I just read one guy that said this. But I'm talking to a lot of you, aren't I? A lot of you believe that Jake Paul is going to pull out of that fight. Might even do it the day of, correct? Correct? Okay. Who would he pull out to? He is the promoter. Who would he call? Does he send an email to himself? Does he send a text message to himself? Does he schedule a meeting, come in and sit down, cross the table and look in the eye himself? Like, it's the part that is the most fascinating about the whole thing is that Jake would be the one to be the skunk at the garden party. It's his money that has brought us to...
People are asking, is this fight a messy mismatch, or is it a surprise blockbuster?